Well, good evening and welcome to another exciting episode of Love Not Fear. I'm Jack Cox, author of Love Not Fear, and I'm with my lovely co-host, Annie Day, who's written two very inspiring books.
Orgasmic Health and Your Guide to Feeling Fabulous Fast.
Tonight we're going to move away a little bit from our usual format, our usual fun and jolly format, and we're going to be dealing with a rather serious subject.
Yeah.
Relationship and sex education in schools. So I'm just going to read a little bit of introduction. Sex education began in Sweden in 1955. It reached the UK in 1976. Until very recently, it was only taught in secondary schools, and parents had the right to withdraw their children if they wished.
Yep.
But now a totally new sex curriculum is threatening to change all that. Now the government wants children as young as 3 to be exposed to this material, and the material has changed too.
Yeah, that's the real sadness, Jack.
People and organizations that are backing this new curriculum include Mermaids, a charity for transgender teenagers. Pi, do you remember Pi, the paedophile and information exchange?
Oh, I do. Sadly, I do remember.
That was a political party in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Stonewall.
I've not heard of those.
Stonewall stands for lesbian, gay, bi, trans, queer, questioning, and ace. I've no idea what ace is. People everywhere. They imagine a world where LGBTQ people are free to be themselves and can live their lives to the full. No, I'm fully behind that. I'm absolutely fully behind that.
Me too. We're not into discrimination or prejudice, but our viewpoint is that's fine if you're an adult. It's not okay when this is 2 and 3 year olds. It's not.
Well, that's right. Yeah, it's okay for consenting adults.
Yeah, indeed.
But you've got to ask yourself why an organisation like that would be trying to push this stuff to 3-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, the fact that the police were taking the transgender clowns who were talking about masturbation to libraries, play groups and schools, and they were getting a police escort to each of them, and anybody who objected and didn't want their kids to be part of it was told that they were being prejudiced and discriminating against people. No, it's called parental responsibility.
Absolutely. Peter Tatchell is a gay rights activist and ambassador for an organisation called Educate and Celebrate, which teaches kids about gender identity and sexual orientation.
Bear in mind, he's got no children himself.
Absolutely.
He campaigned to, in the context of this particular bill that's going through, he campaigned for opt-out, for parents not to be allowed to opt out.
Yeah, he did.
He doesn't want parents to have the right to choose what their own children learn at school.
More coercion and more manipulation, isn't it?
They're actually basing all this off a guy called Alfred Kinsey. Now, if you follow PCP Wales and their videos, you will learn a hell of a lot about who Alfred Kinsey was.
Yeah.
He done a lot of research in prisons and stuff like that with paedophiles.
Yeah.
Now, this is where he's basing off his theory that all children are sexual from birth. And basically, if you look, the book that I've seen, there's got charts in it and stuff like that, where was it just prisons, it was outside, and they actually sexually abused and called it research.
Oh my God.
They called it research from, I think it's 4-month or 5-month-old babies upwards over a specific amount of time to see how many times they could pleasure them. Never mind,
my
it
God.
wasn't pleasure, it was torture.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, but this is where this new agenda with the sex education's come from, right? I mean, this is where they based it off Alfred McKinsey,
Yeah, the Kinsey
John
reports.
Money. If you ever see a video about John Money, then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Peter Thatcher, yeah, I mean, he supports it fully, but other people who have supported NSPCC, believe it or
Yeah,
not.
again, they're not a good charity, not a good charity at all.
But
And the Save the Children Fund as well, not a good charity.
But what you've got to realise, England, Scotland and Ireland, they had it before us. You've had it two years. Scotland's had it about 3, Ireland about 2, I think. I'm not, you don't quote me on this. I know most things about what's going on, but at the end of the day, we had it come into Wales in September. It was passed in legislation last year under the COVID. They kept it under the quiet, but they did. They actually asked a certain amount of people what they thought about this new sex education coming in without telling them what the curriculum was, and 87% said no in Wales. But our politicians went through, put it through.
No.
They put it through without an opt-out. Now, England, Scotland and Ireland, they've got an opt-out. We haven't got an opt-out. As far as they're concerned, the government is concerned, it is, I mean, it's their right to educate our children. So they're taking a right off a parent to educate it. The state is now in charge of your child when it comes to education.
That sounds a bit like communism to me.
Well, what do you expect? Labour is...
Exactly.
Now, one of the organisations that's opposing this, the main one in Wales, the People's Child Protection, what's it called?
Public Child Protection Wales.
Wales, that's it, yeah. They took the Welsh government to court last week. There was a big court case in Cardiff. And we're very, very lucky tonight because we've got Philip Palmer with us, who actually covered most of that court case and the protests outside. He knows more about this than the rest of us put together.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say that. Kimberly Isherwood, who's done, she's been working on stuff regarding this since 2013. So, and fair play to the rest of the girls. They've worked thousands and thousands of hours on research for this to go to court. They didn't want it to go to court, but they had no option because the government wouldn't listen to them.
No,
They wouldn't listen to the people either. So it had to go to the High Court, because when you're talking about children between the ages of 3 and 4, talking about self-stimulation.
Oh no.
That is masturbation. What they've done is just change the word to self-stimulation just to make it feel all right.
Yeah.
Now, there was one case up in North Wales has been reported to us. It was a small child going home just after one of these classes, walked into his living room, and he undressed and started masturbating on the couch, and his parents saw it. They complained to the school. But then we can go on about that's at the age of 3 to 4. They call it well-being, and the Welsh government are denying it. But they can't deny it. It's all the curriculum you can find out yourself through the Scotland, and there is a universal rollout by UNESCO and WHO, because Scotland, we're working off Scotland. Everything is quoted by the Welsh government. It comes from Scotland, so they can't hide the fact. We know exactly what route they're going down. Like a child of 5 can choose their gender in a classroom.
No.
Age of 5. Now, bear in mind, we've already had earlier on in the year in a school in Rhondda, that a child went to school. I'm not too sure the age, and the parents didn't find out for 2 weeks that their child was going to school and being put into a dress without the parents knowing.
Oh,
So it's
my
already
God.
happening. It's already happening.
Yeah.
And if you look at Scotland, where it's gone in Scotland, this is an attack on LGBTQ. This is an attack on our rights, on our children's rights.
Exactly. Exactly.
And if you look at Scotland, where transgenderism has increased up to 1,400% now, since they've had since it's gone up, entered Scotland. You've got a school in Brighton, half of them are now non-binary. Do you know what I mean? This is happening. This is real. This isn't make believe.
No, sadly not.
Peter, do you want to sum up the differences? What's changed in the legislation, age group by age group? Can you able to do that?
Not really, but different ages, they have changed it. But if you look at the Scotland curriculum, they're bringing the age groups down. Like, for instance, years ago, you'd have in a biology class or a science class, and you'd only have like half an hour. But now they're mixing it in with maths, English. You can't get away with it. You can't get away with it. And it's just getting, how can I put it? Right, just an example. It used to be 14 years of age before they used to put a banana on a condom.
Yeah.
And now it's gone down, it was 13, then what was it? I'll sum it up. It was 11 to 12-year-olds had to put a condom onto a full-size dildo. I mean, 11-year, 12-year-olds. Now, if you think that's right to promote sex, even though that you can't have sex until you're 16.
Yeah.
Do you mean? And it's
So
illegal.
why teach them how to do it?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm all for sex education, don't get me wrong. I mean, my mother was completely screwed up most of her life because she never had any. When she had her first period, she thought she was dying because nobody told her anything.
Yeah, my mum was the same, darling.
And
we don't want
and
that.
a lot of
we do want appropriate content.
Yeah, and a lot of parents even today are not able to teach their own children about sex because of their own traumas or whatever. So we do need some sort of sex education, but it only used to be in secondary schools.
Yeah.
It never used to be in primary schools. They're not for little kids in preschool.
No, this is ridiculous. And it's
I
harmful.
I just wish there's some videos I could put up right now, but I can't because I can't access them, of what the content is, and it's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I've actually got a list here if you want me to read it out.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go on, Jack.
If I can find it, I cue my notes. Hang on just a sec. So they've legislated sex education from age 3 to 16.
Yeah.
How kids at 3 are even in school, I don't know, but anyway.
Well, they're not. It's probably nursery education, Jack.
With no parental opt-out. But this is secondary legislation. It does not override primary legislation. It becomes an extension of or an amendment to primary legislation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So at least in theory, parents can still opt out under the 1996 Education Act.
Well, in the High Court on Tuesday or Wednesday, the government's barrister said that there's still an opt-out. All right, get this. There's still an opt-out because he was laughing all the way through the PCP Wales's barrister. I mean, he was making this like this, and then when he summed up his bit, he turned around. There is an opt-out. You just take them out of school and homeschool them, or put them into private schools. But with the homeschool bill coming, it's not. It doesn't matter if you do take your kids out. They will expect you to be teaching them sex education as a mandatory subject to your children.
Yeah. The government claims that this new legislation safeguards against sex abuse and inappropriate internet content, and teaches children about reproductive health and biology, meaningful relationships, and being kind.
Yeah, that's what I'd gone as well. But actually, this is the opposite of that, Jack.
And a lot of people think it's just a standalone document, but there's a lot of history behind this.
Yeah.
It didn't come out of the blue.
No.
Let's look at the RSE draft, which was published in February 2019. On page 4, it says, refer to UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, which is part of the UN.
Which is the dark cabal again, isn't it?
This is why the government and the barristers got caught out on Wednesday, because when they said, because they'd been mentioning it's a universal rollout by UNESCO, they denied it. But our barrister proved it on the last day. So they're just complete liars.
Massively.
UNESCO rollout.
UNESCO has a policy called Cooperative Sexual Education, CSE. This is global for 5 to 18-year-olds. And it maps out progression of this age group across 8 areas: relationships, values, rights, culture and sexuality, understanding gender violence, stay safe skills, the human body and its development, sexuality and sexual behavior, and sexual and reproductive health, which are all things that secondary school kids should know, but not primary school kids. So what they're now calling RSE is actually UNESCO's CSE, Comprehensive Sexual Education. Do you see how we're being pulled towards a one world government?
Oh, absolutely.
It's about sexualizing our children, full stop, like to me. And you shouldn't be sexualizing kids from the ages of 3 upwards. And what you've got to realize, if they wanted to bring some of this RSE in, why didn't they start at the 14, 15 and 16-year-olds?
Exactly.
Because their excuse is to stop unwanted pregnancies and STIs. Now, if that was the case, you'd start with the 14 to 16-year-olds.
Exactly.
And it's coming into Wales like a 3 to 5-year-olds the first year, and then each year they add a different age group on. So it's pretty obvious what they're trying to do, like to me.
Absolutely.
From birth.
Yeah.
UNESCO claims that children have sexual rights from birth.
Yeah.
Babies have the same sexual and reproductive rights as adults. I mean, how crazy is that?
That's based off Alfred Kinsey.
Yeah, exactly.
And there you go. That speaks volumes.
Now, the documents I'm going to quote from can all be downloaded from the PCPW website, and I'll put a link to that below in the description when this goes up on YouTube.
Yeah,
thank you.
So you can get all the information, all the videos, all the documents that you need from their website. It's brilliant website.
Yeah, the thing is, they haven't just gone into this blindfolded. They've gone in here and done a lot of research. Kim's Timmy, she's just done a master's in criminology. She's been working on subjects like this for a number of years, and she knows what she's talking about. And the same goes for Adele, Lashia, and the rest of the team, Darren as well. They all know what they're actually talking about, and they researched it.
Yeah.
Apparently, this new legislation also wants to administer medication to your children without your consent.
Oh.
Annie, you've got
yes, I've got a friend who's a psychotherapist and psychosexual counsellor. None of that really particularly matters, but her daughter is 11 years old, and last year they sent a letter around saying that you could not stop your child from having the jab, that any child over 6 is quite capable of giving informed consent without any adult supervision at all or adult responsibility. So Rachel ended up calling the school, writing an email, getting in touch with the head of year and the head teacher, and got all the legal documents together saying if you touch my child, then there will be serious repercussions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they were saying that any child over 6 can make their own mind up about having a jab. No, they can't. No, they cannot. They don't have the cognitive ability at that time to make an informed choice. Like most adults haven't been able to make an informed choice. Asking a 6-year-old to make that a choice. And also what was even more disturbing was they were saying to keep it secret from mummy and daddy. Is that not also part of the grooming, darling?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's another issue, keeping secrets from parents.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Big one, Philip, isn't it? Big one.
Yeah, and just, I mean, parents should know everything that's going on in their child's education.
Absolutely.
And one thing I have to say is PCP Wales, they, Kim and Joan, who are part of the team, they actually gone on to an RSE course. They've actually been qualified to teach teachers how to do sex education. But obviously, what we're not against sex education, but we're appropriate sex education for the right ages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Hit the nail on the head. Absolutely, darling.
And most of this is, well, a lot of this is not age appropriate.
No, not even remotely.
As we're about to see, there were a couple of documents came out, preliminary documents, one in 2019 and one in 2021, which you can download off their website. Section 7.3 says that if you have a daughter who suddenly wants to be a boy, your daughter will be given a boy's uniform, a boy's name, will be able to use a boy's changing rooms and toilets, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it because it's none of your business, according to them.
What?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's already happened.
Yeah.
The new updated 2021 version is even worse. It allows females into male spaces, men into female spaces. On residential trips, they can share dorms and they can share changing facilities. We're dealing with dangerous territory.
Absolutely, darling. This is very thin ice now.
There's a document that you can download from the PCPW website called Your Sexuality Education in Europe and Central Asia. So this isn't just a British thing. This document on page 8 tells the whole story. It tells you, sorry.
Yeah, the thing is, you want to look at what's been happening in America. America's had this a long time. Do you mean? Yeah. And you can see what's happening to them.
Yeah.
It's how can I put it? They're getting blockers and puberty blockers and stuff like that.
I know.
And if a child wants to be a girl or a child wants to be a boy, they will get them. They will get them because it's their right to. It doesn't. I mean, I think over in America you've got to be about 10, but it's going to come here, and it's starting to happen slowly. That people, the teachers are trying to push this agenda. This woke agenda is a woke agenda, and my view on it is, if you're pushing something like that, they've got the depopulation. Like, I know what you're talking about. The depopulation is working because two females and 2 males cannot make a baby, full stop.
Exactly.
Ignore all this bollocks where a man can have a baby, or like that doctor on Good Morning Britain the other day turned around and said menstrual cycles do affect men and women. I mean, if you can't tell the biology of a boy or a girl, then it's something wrong, because an archaeologist in 1,000 years' time will dig up a body and tell you if it's a man or a woman.
Exactly, by the hip size, by the skeleton. One of my lovely friends, who is also a psychotherapist, said There's a really good way of finding out whether you're a female or male. Just kick them in the balls, and if they scream, it's a man. I was like, I don't know that that's very scientific or PC, but it works for me.
Yeah,
but
but
even if you chop their bits off, they've still got the genes. They've still got the chromosomes.
And those sex hormones still going through their bodies as well.
They're all through their life, they can never change their chromosomes.
No.
No, they can't. It's rubbish.
I'd love to know what these politicians had in mind when they accepted all of this, but there you go.
Well, they're part of the dark cabal, so it's anything to depopulate us and to make us anything but the beautiful, magnificent fractal of the divine that we really are. They want us to think that we are really fucked up.
Well, it is. The way I look at it is it destroys a family unit as well. Like, I mean,
Yeah, massively, massively.
And the thing is,
our
politicians in Wales, at the end of the day, they obviously didn't do their research like PCP Wales did. Otherwise, there's no way they would have put that through. And that's Labour and Conservatives and that Plaid Cymru. I mean, so
crazy.
I mean, what they're trying to do, this is just part of it, in my opinion, is to bring about Huxley's Brave New World.
Yeah.
Where parents no longer have any responsibility for children at all. They're brought up by the state, they're genetically engineered by the state, they're educated by the state for a specific position in society before they're even born. Parents have nothing to do with it whatsoever.
But like I said, PCP Wales aren't, the barrister did talk about LGBTQ+, but he talked about other things as well. If you look through the transcripts on Twitter, because the court transcripts were coming through, it's a lot to it. It's like the parents. I mean, we don't want this in Wales.
Yeah.
We feel our kids are being threatened into sexualization, and we don't want it. Lots
No,
of parents
of
don't
course
want
not. What
Well,
person would? What person would actually want to be doing this to our own children? It's child abuse.
Yeah, definitely.
Now here's the new curriculum as far as I can decipher it. Tell me if I got anything wrong, Philip.
I know everything.
Age 0 to 4. They want them to learn about sexuality and enjoyment and pleasure when touching one's body and early childhood masturbation at 4.
No.
The enjoyment of physical closeness is a normal part of everyone's life. Tenderness and physical closeness is an expression of love and affection. Yeah, absolutely true. And then they start talking about playing doctors. Curiosity regarding one's own and others' bodies. So at 0 to 4, they were already talking about childhood masturbation and curiosity about their own and others' bodies. I don't know about any of you guys, but I wasn't interested at all, even aware of the differences between boys and girls at that age.
Just in top, all you're interested in sweets, toys, and play, and that's it.
Yeah.
You weren't interested in anything sexual until at least about 10, maybe you start getting inquisitive, and then a little bit onwards. Do you mean?
Yeah. This is dreadful that they're even suggesting that this is the worst of it is it's insidious and gradual, because they think they can sort of get it under the carpet and we'll just think this is normal. This is
nothing
anything
normal
but
about
normal. There is nothing normal about this.
But you're ahead of us in England and Scotland and Ireland. We were the last ones to get it because they know we would kick off, and that's exactly what we did. England actually took the government to court, but on a technicality, it was thrown out before it even got there.
No.
Yeah, but this is what people aren't realizing. If it wins in Wales, it'll be a knock-on effect, and it will set precedents for the other 51 countries, this has come in.
Yeah.
You know, but what I'm saying, people shouldn't, how can I put it? I spoke to somebody on Saturday, right? I was at Freedom March, and we were chatting away, and I turned around and I said, she knew about the RSE, she knew about the court case. And I asked, why weren't she there? And she turned around and said, I can't be at everything. I said, well, I'm thinking to myself, a Freedom March or going to a high court case, making a difference, instead of marching around the town. Look, I film everything, and I accept that spreading awareness is brilliant, right? I mean, I've done it myself, and I'm still doing it.
Sure.
But if you had to choose between two demonstrations, going to the High Court or on a Freedom March, do you mean walking around the town? I would pick protecting the children every time.
Yeah, same,
Absolutely.
darling.
Yeah,
No doubt about it.
4 to 6-year-olds are going to be taught about basic human reproduction. 4 to 6? Does anyone think that's a suitable age to be learning about that kind of thing? How babies are made? I mean, I don't think so.
I'll give you some anecdotal stuff. So my son was 4, and at the time we lived in a maisonette, and my sister-in-law was very pregnant, and Matthew used to jump off the top step and jump onto, and she would catch him. And I just said to him the one day, you know, Auntie Patty's got this little baby growing inside her, and I'd like you to stop doing that because I don't want you to hurt the baby. I only answered his questions as he asked them.
Yeah, children need to be drip fed this stuff as and when they're ready for it.
And when they ask the question, give appropriate sex education in language that they will understand.
Always answer them truthfully, but only give them as much information as they ask for.
Yeah, but they certainly, neither of my children nor my grandson have ever asked about LGBTQ, nor have they asked any questions about pleasuring themselves or anything else. I think Philip said it earlier, they're more interested in sweets and playing outside.
Yeah.
Yes, Paul.
They're taught about childhood masturbation.
Oh my God.
How to express feelings of love, the sexual feelings of closeness, the sexual feelings of closness.
And do you not think this is opening the door to paedophilia, Jack?
Of course it is.
What else could this be? Feelings of closeness, self-pleasuring, allowing someone else to give you pleasure. Not at that age. No.
Not at that age, no. It's poisoning their young minds at a much too young age.
And they don't have the cognitive development to deal with complex, information like this as well.
I mean, 4 to 6-year-olds, for crying out loud.
Right.
The use of sexual language in a non-offensive way. And then they talk about sexual matters and consolidate their gender identity. Gender identity.
What
Kids
the
are
fuck?
Kids who are 4 to 6 don't need to even think about gender identity.
No, exactly. I know that because I was a nursery teacher for a long time, boys would play with the prams, girls would play with the bikes and the trucks and the everything. And there wasn't, they weren't doing, what should we say, gender specific toys. They were just playing because they were little kids. Yeah. And this really goes against everything that I hold sacred, basically, as a mother, a grandmother, but also as a sex therapist and psychotherapist as well. All of this is completely immoral.
I mean, we never told our daughter that she had to play with dolls. She could have had whatever toy she wanted. She could have had, but she wanted dolls, and My Little Ponies and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't tell her that's what she had to like.
No.
That's what she was asking for.
Yeah. And equally, you wouldn't have said, oh, well, you can't have dolls. You've got to have Meccano or whatever, male toys, children go to where they gravitate, and they're exploring and learning, aren't they?
Yeah. Now, from 6 to 9, still very, very young kids, 6 to 9, the enjoyment and pleasure when touching one's own body, accepting their own and others' need for privacy, well, that's good, an understanding of acceptable sex, mutual...
No, an acceptable sex, really?
Well, it depends how they define it, doesn't it?
Exactly, darling.
Mutual, consensual and voluntary.
At the end of the day, mutual consensual consent, there's only 2 words you need to know, yes and no.
Yep.
Yep,
And that is it. You don't need all this bullshit with consent and stuff like that. It's no, full stop.
Yep.
And the child should be taught no, because it is against the law, full stop. And teachers shouldn't even be talking about this so graphically. And the videos and the books they provide are, I mean,
they're just sick, aren't they?
if you did that, if I went up to some child on the street and showed them a book, which they're going to be showing, same as the drag queens and that, you'd be shocked.
Yeah.
You'd be shocked.
I mean,
I would get done for being a paedophile and trying to push sexualization of kids and trying to groom them. Full stop.
That's what this is all about. This is what this is all about.
They're teaching kids to commit crimes, basically, because as you said, Philip, it's illegal at that age.
Yeah.
It's illegal for them to consent.
And it would be wrong to do so. And it's saying mutual pleasure. You know, at what point are you going to say that mutual pleasure should not be someone a lot older than you? Because otherwise, isn't that going to mess their heads up as well?
Completely.
That anybody can come in and touch them and pleasure them because that's normal. No, it's not. It's paedophilia.
Yeah. 9 to 12. I mean, okay, they're getting a little bit bigger now, but they're still I can't even pronounce it.
Prepubescent was that, darling?
That's what I was trying to say. Right, they teach them about their first sexual experience.
There was actually a survey done in Scotland asking that very question. They went round and they're asking like 12-year-olds to come. No, sorry, it was 13-year-olds to fill out this survey, and it was asking for your first sexual experiences. Did you enjoy it and all this? Now, they shouldn't be asking questions like that.
No.
Shouldn't have had sex.
No.
And you know, you don't know when children are only that age that they might feel that there's something wrong with them because they haven't had a sexual experience with somebody else, when actually they're not cognitively, physically, emotionally, or psychologically ready for a sexual experience. End of.
Yeah, I mean, I started having those conversations with my schoolmates probably around about 13, but certainly not as young as 9.
Mm.
Again, they're talking to 9 and 12-year-olds. They're giving them more on sexual orientation, sexual behavior of young people, and the difference between gender identity and biological sex. How to make a conscious decision to have a sexual experience or not.
What?
Yeah, how to make I'm going to read that again. How to make a conscious decision to have a sexual experience or not. Age 9 to 12.
9 to 12. Are you kidding? Oh my God. That is so sick, Jack. That is so sick.
How to differentiate between sexuality in real life and sexuality in the media.
But there you go. There you go. Right, the media. We're talking porn there now, right?
Porn.
Exactly.
Some schools want their children. They want the children to go home and research porn. That is part of their. I mean, what they're meant to do.
Homework. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, we've got a massive problem here because our government has done absolutely nothing about the porn industry and making sure that under 18s, to me, cannot access porn. But all you have to say is, yes, I'm over 18, and you just go straight in. Now, there should be a stricter controls on that, but our government is pushing it onto children as young as 12, 13, 14, and they shouldn't be doing it.
No, it's totally out of order. It's immoral, it's illegal, it's just wrong on so many levels.
I mean, we're not prudes by all means, by any means. We're just the opposite. I mean, Annie, amongst other things, is a sex therapist.
Yeah.
But you don't, it's not appropriate for little kids.
No, quite the opposite. When you first phoned me and said, do you want to talk about this on Monday? I was in the hairdressers, as you know. And I listened to it, and then I just went, no, 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 no. As a sex therapist, as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, this is wrong on so many levels. And them sending the transgendering clowns that our police forces have been, protecting these people. They've gone into play groups, they've gone into nurseries, they've gone into schools. And this is awful. When the moms were saying, I don't want my child to hear this is not right, then they bring out the discrimination and the prejudice card because we're not LGBTQ friendly. No, we just don't want our kids being exposed to things that are dangerous.
Well, maybe they should stick a P into that acronym.
There's something else. Something else you've touched on there, drag queens, right?
Honestly, I could not believe it the first time I saw it, Philip. Honestly, I was just appalled.
ADHD, right? This is the one that will travel the country in the summer. When he came to Wales for a full week, I followed him about. I filmed doing the protests and stuff like that. And what you've got to realise, drag queens are adult entertainment. Don't try to bring it down. It's pantomime. No, it's not. It's adult entertainment.
Not. Adult entertainment.
Full stop. It's adult entertainment. And this guy, right? The thing is, one place, I'm not sure where it was. He was actually. They said, no, you can't come here, right? And this guy's getting paid like I don't know, about 400 quid a day or something to push this. And because of his past social media, where he had a bum against his face, ADHD did, right, a male, and then he made a quote of, if I see an 11-year-old in a nightclub, 11 or say 60-year-old in a nightclub, age means nothing to me.
Oh,
I mean,
my God.
He says love has no age, and he did say the 11-year-old was fair game.
What?
Now he's got a job on. Now he's got a job on the BBC.
Oh, well, of course.
Well, there you go.
Buggering Boys Company, you mean? Mate.
Get worse.
Beyond sick, isn't it? Beyond sick.
But the thing is, with the LGBTQ plus, you've actually got, they've had arguments left and right and centre, which people don't really know about. Like some gays have set up a group, Gays Against Groomers, and they don't like the sex education. They don't like this way with the drag queens. Then you've got Trans Against Groomers. They feel exactly the same. A lot of the lesbians are really peed off because they're peed off for the trans, because obviously, I mean, trans sports and stuff like that, normal women's sports, they come in and the feminists are dead against them anyway.
How ridiculous is that, Philip, that we're even, allowing that to happen? And then we're saying these aren't called breasts, they're called chests. They're not, they're breasts. They're not. And then you can't call it a womb. Well, why can't we call it a womb? It is a womb.
Yeah. In America, right, last week, it was either last week or the week before, you had a transgender woman winning a beauty contest.
Oh,
I saw that. That was ridiculous.
And I've got to admit,
absolutely ridiculous.
And I've got to admit, they must. Do you mean the judges must have had shit in their eyes? They must have had shit in their eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, they were
Now,
given a
one thing I
lot
just
of
want to
money by
say,
the WEF, we mean, don't we?
one thing I just want to say for the record is the vast majority of LGBTQ people are not paedophiles.
No,
No, they're not.
exactly.
We're definitely
not.
not attacking the LGBTQ movement at all.
No,
Yeah.
we're just shining a light on what's happening, and it's being done under the guise of LGBTQ plus. But actually, most genuine LGBT people would not be saying that this is a good thing to do with children. They would
Right.
not. The
Absolutely.
opposite.
They'd be much against it as we are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, darling.
Now,
The
9
thing-
to 12-year-olds are being taught to accept, respect, and understand diversity and sexual orientation, and the understanding of sexuality as a learning process, and then accepting a different expression of sexuality, kissing, touching, and caressing. Now, I mean, that's fair enough as far as it goes, but do kids that age really need to even be thinking about these sorts of things?
No,
Not really.
they'll ask the questions that they need to ask. Like, so how did my auntie get pregnant? Well, the daddy planted a seed in her tummy. That was it. End of conversation. Only give our children as little and as much as they can cognitively process, basically. It's pointless. And also, they don't need any more detail than that. Just answer their questions as simply and as honestly as possible.
Yeah, this UNESCO comprehensive sexuality education thing, which RSE is a part of,
Yeah.
it's a rights-based approach, children's rights, bodily rights, sexual rights. And this document starts at age 5. Do 5-year-olds really have sexual rights?
No.
And this is the learning objectives for the 5 to 8s. To understand that people can show love for other people through touching and intimacy, define intimacy. So learners will be able to state that people show love and care for each other in different ways, including kissing, hugging, touching, and sometimes through sexual behaviors. You know, this is
And again, if that was described within a loving relationship, then I probably wouldn't have much of a problem with it, except for their age group. But actually, is this not another really sly, insidious way of encouraging paedophilia? Because who's to say that that person who's giving you a hug that doesn't feel right, or is giving you a kiss that doesn't feel right? How are you supposed to process that? When you're being told that this is all perfectly acceptable? It's not.
No, when my daughter was that age, we taught her that when the bedroom door was closed, because it was normally open, she wasn't supposed to come in because mummy and daddy were having special cuddles.
Yeah.
She was quite happy to accept that.
Yeah.
She never asked for any more details.
No, and she didn't need any, did she? That was enough.
There's no need to push this down the throats of kiddies.
No, exactly, Don. I think it's just setting up, well, it's setting children up to be more vulnerable. They're saying it's a self-safeguarding strategy. It's not. It's the opposite of safeguarding, this is.
Yeah. I mean, they're teaching these kids at this young age to define the difference between good and bad touch. Now, yeah, okay, because there are predators about and they may be being groomed and they need to know what was going on. But anyway.
But the whole point about grooming is that people rarely know that they're being groomed, rarely, even the adults. You know, when paedophiles are going to work on a child, they groom the adults first, so that they will feel comfortable with leaving that child with the babysitter or the teacher or the whatever it is, So again, this isn't appropriate. It's just not appropriate.
I mean, are the teachers actually going to tell the kids what's good and bad touch, or are they going to ask the kids what feels good and what doesn't?
I just don't think it's appropriate at all.
It's just,
No,
it
it's
is
too young,
needed,
way too young.
You want
so unnecessary.
you want to look up a guy called John Carroll, and he's a member of PI, and he was asked a question about if a young girl sat on his lap. Now, he would say he wasn't grooming by commenting on the color of her knickers and stuff. Do you mean? And he was saying it was okay to have sex with 9-year-olds. Also, if you want to watch it, it's a John Carroll. Because you remember PI, like, I mean, this is why they want to lower the age of consent and everything else. But if there's a video on PCPW, if you watch that, you'll be quite shocked. Like, I mean, his response. And the BBC actually filmed that. It was off a BBC program.
Of course they would. You know, why did they get rid of Jill Danda? Because she was going to blow the lid off all this.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
That's why they had her assassinated.
Now, what I'm about to say now, I learnt this from Kimberly Isherwood, the show she did last night, because I didn't know it before. So credit to Kimberly for this. However, it's not word for word. However, what these teachers are not understanding is that when children are aroused, sometimes it doesn't feel bad. It just tickles.
Yeah.
That's John Carroll.
And
John
children
Carroll said that. And if you look on that show you saw last night of Kimberly Isherwood, she actually shows the video of it, of this Tom Carroll actually speaking it.
Yeah, I watched that video. It's absolutely brilliant. So yeah, so telling them that about bad and good touch is in itself a safeguarding issue.
Yeah, indeed.
Because you're misleading kids. They just need to learn to say no. They don't need to think about all this stuff. Does it feel good or doesn't it? Yeah. There are some ways of touching children that are bad. And again, that's when it feels uncomfortable. But it doesn't always feel uncomfortable to the child at the time.
Exactly.
But it's still wrong.
Yeah. And for most survivors of childhood sexual abuse, there is an element that it was pleasurable and they were told it was their fault that this was happening. And often, to silence the child from speaking out, they would say, oh, if anybody finds out about this, your mum and dad will go to prison, or you'll go to prison, or you'll be sent to the naughty girls' home or the naughty boys' home. There is always a threat to silence the child. Oh, yeah. So to add to this as well is just so cruel. And it is a safeguarding issue, as Philip says, and you've said, Jack.
When you understand the mind of a predator, you'll understand the processes they go through to groom our children, to prepare them so it doesn't feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Kimberly also said something last night. I didn't make a note of it, or maybe if I did, it's in a different place on these notes. But she was talking about how kids who are abused sometimes do masturbate.
Yeah.
And it's what she calls a non-verbal disclosure.
Yeah.
It's a sign that teachers can pick up on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think
because I was a nursery teacher for 20 years, I would say that one of the biggest cases, it was a school in Bloxwich, and sadly, childhood sexual abuse was generational, and little girls and little boys would be acting out that self-pleasuring or masturbation, however we're calling it. The really saddest thing is I kept in touch with a year 6 girl. She went to uni and she phoned me up one night and said, oh my God, Annie, I must have been being sexually abused all my life, she'd said to the rest of the girls in her room, no, not in her room, in her dorm or whatever it was, where they were all living, I'm really glad that we're not passed around the uncles on Friday nights. And these other girls went, what are you talking about? And she started to explain. And from the time she was 7, she was passed around the uncles on a Friday night. And Jack, she genuinely did not know that that was abuse. She just knew she didn't like it. And it took her colleagues, you know, her first few weeks of being at uni for her to be told that this was sexual abuse. So that's what we're up against, Jack. That's what we're up against.
I mean, kids are so innocent.
Indeed.
And this is taking away their innocence.
Without doubt, darling, without doubt.
Definitely.
Just so very sad.
They go on to talk about sexual attraction, stimulation, and masturbation during puberty and sometimes earlier. I mean, is masturbation even possible pre-puberty? I don't know.
Oh, well, obviously, if they're teaching it from the ages of 3, 4, 5, it must be possible as far as I think. And as far as I'm concerned, it's just a paedophile trying to groom a child.
Absolutely.
And if any teacher goes along with this, I mean, they're complicit as well in this, because in my eyes, it should be breaking the law. Like, to me, when you're talking to a child of that age about sexual content or sexual acts, it should be classed as grooming.
Yeah. And it's a safeguarding issue. It's a massive safeguarding issue.
I think if these lessons went on outside of school, the perpetrators would be arrested.
Yeah.
Massively.
Yeah.
But because they're doing it in school, it's somehow respectable. Well, no, it isn't.
No,
Sorry.
it's not.
No.
No, it's really not.
They go on to talk about the importance of being able to make informed decisions about sexual behavior, including whether to delay sex or become sexually active from age 9.
What? No.
That's what they're telling them.
You can just look at the Scottish curriculum, and this is where it's coming from to come into Wales. It's starting to come into England already, but you do really need to start worrying when you have no opt-out as a parent or what your child is being taught.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to England and Scotland and Ireland, you're all going to kick off.
Yeah. And presumably, Philip, they don't have to let the parents know that sexual education is being taught either, do they? Well, or do they?
At one teachers' conference, if you watch that film that Jax was on about with Kimberly, it actually shows a clip about a teachers' conference. And this woman gets up to speak. She's wrote a book or whatever. I can't remember her name now offhand. And she says, the best thing not to do is to tell the teachers if you're going to teach something regarding sex education, basically, because you don't want 30 angry parents at your door at you in a meeting.
Well, don't teach it if it's not appropriate then. Oh my gosh.
I will be putting the links to that show in the description.
Thank you, Jack. That's very useful. Thank you.
It came in 2 halves, part 1 and part 2. They're an hour long each.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you watch that link, then Kimberly actually explains it better in a presentation. She was in Neon in Newport, and she explains it. You've got the videos content. The second part of it does get dark. This is about Tom Carroll, about about other things as well, like Peter Tatchell. It does get a little bit darker then.
Yes.
So just be prepared.
Okay, thank you.
But it was really, really informative. I learned a lot from it.
Yeah, definitely.
They say it's important to teach kids of this age the main features of pregnancy.
Do you know what
then it goes on? Then it goes on to this.
Safe sex.
Sorry?
Safe sex in their eyes is anal. You realise that, don't you? Anal.
Oh my God, no.
That is safe sex in the eyes of this sex education. That's one of the suggestions, because they actually do a little video about anal sex.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be talking about that in a bit. Yeah, I mean, that was absolutely. I mean, it shocked me. I mean, I'm broad-minded, but it sickened me what they were teaching them. But they're telling 9-year-olds about pregnancy and the tests that are available to confirm pregnancy and how to recognise unintended pregnancy at an early age.
At 9? Are you kidding?
Mm,
That's crazy.
yeah.
Most little girls haven't menstruated by the time they're 9. It's usually a bit older, isn't it? 11, 12, 13.
Yeah. They don't need to know about that at that
Why
age.
do they need to know about this? This is crazy.
When they go to secondary school, yeah, but they don't need to know it at primary school.
No, exactly.
So they're talking about signs of pregnancy, and they're talking about this for children between 9 and 12, and what to do if you fall pregnant. Is a girl at 9 going to fall pregnant?
Well, you'd hope not.
I think there's a massive problem. This is a massive problem.
This is huge, isn't it? It really is.
But the thing is, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
That's the really sad part of it, isn't it, Philip?
Well, we've watched so many different things get worse over the last few years.
Yeah.
They're tightening their grip on every aspect of our lives.
And
But they're not going to win. They're not going to win. Love always overcomes hatred. Light always overcomes darkness. And the truth always comes out in the end. And it is.
It always comes out in the end. It always comes right in the end, but I think it might be a long journey.
Yeah,
well, I'm manifesting it being a shorter journey, Jack.
They do that, yeah.
I just want to make sure that everybody does understand. It's not an LGBTQ attacking them.
No, it's not.
And because within our movement, right, I've got to say, PCP Wales, they've united a lot of people together. Now they've united gays against groomers, trans against groomers. There's lesbians in our there's lesbians in our group. We got bisexuals in our group. We got gays in our group, and then they can't attack us on race either, because we've got Somalians in our group. We've got Muslims who support us.
There you go.
We've got churchgoers who support us, and this is. I've covered a lot of different organizations and protests and stuff, but this is the only one that brings every single person together.
Exactly.
And that's our children. And that's our children.
Yeah, we've got to protect our children. They're our future. They're our legacy. They're our, well, I'm preaching to the converted, clearly.
Right, let's talk about the All About Me sex education package that went out to the heads of 241 schools in England.
Oh, okay. I've got a feeling I'm not going to like this either, Jack.
No, you're not. The goal of the All About Me program is to teach topics such as personal identity and body and emotions. Parents removed more than 600 pupils from a Birmingham primary school over LGBT lists. The move came after protests by the parents in a predominantly Muslim neighborhood. In response to these rallies, the school stopped the classes.
Good.
Yeah. Aswa and a few of them, they support us, the ones who took this, fought this. And I've got to be honest, a lot of the Muslim people in Cardiff, 200 of them are taking their kids out of school until the end of this court case. They took them out after half term, and they're not going to put them back in until this court case is dealt with.
Good.
It's good that we've got the Muslims.
That's our parental right, isn't it?
Yeah. The program teaches rules about touching, rules about stimulation, rules about stimulating yourself, and how some people, I don't know quite what this means, but it says here that some people like to take the last stroke themselves. I mean, come on. Is this really for little
This
kiddies?
is sick, isn't it? Really
These
is
are
so
primary
sick.
schools. This went to primary schools.
Sick.
The package teaches that it's not polite to masturbate when other people are about. Yeah, well, okay, it's not. But and this is what I was talking about earlier. I think I preempted myself a wee bit, because it's natural for kids to show that they've been abused by masturbating in class.
Yep.
And the teachers pick up on it. But no, every single...
Good teachers do. Some of them are just too idle and they don't want to fill in the paperwork, and they don't want the police involved, and they don't want the school's reputation and the blah, blah, blah. I've been in a school where it was me that sort of went against the grain and said, no, we need to investigate this.
Yeah. Now, all the kids, all the 4-year-old kids in these 241 schools have been programmed to touch themselves, but not in public. This is not normal behavior for young children. When children touch themselves, it may often be a sign that they've been sexually abused.
Yeah. And some of it is, you know, little babies. As soon as you take a little boy's nappy off, I've been a nursery nurse or a nursery teacher for over 20 years. It is a physical response, basically, that they would pee and then they would play with themselves because it's inquisitive. It's no worse than them sucking their thumb or their toe or whatever. It's just an exploration of their bodies. The way this is being said, though, it's something much worse than that.
Yeah. But we program these kids to not masturbate in public, not masturbate in schools. Every kiddie at the age of 4 has been told not to present this non-formal, non-verbal disclosure of sexual abuse that teachers are trained to pick up on. That itself must be a safeguarding risk.
Massively, darling, absolutely massively.
Now let's look at some of the lesson content from the Scottish curriculum. This is what you were talking about, Philip. You can find 100 lesson plans on the Scottish Government website, and I'll put a link to that below as well. So you can download the lesson content for yourself. It's up there for everyone to see.
Thank you, Jack.
Let's just look at a couple of examples. I mean, it's a pretty massive document, but let's just look at a couple of examples. 3 to 5. This is in Scotland. 3 to 5 in Scotland. Learn about the correct terminology such as penis, scrotum, testicles, and vulva.
Right. When you start teaching that sort of stuff, the correct terminology, instead of your pet names, that's actually opening the door for paedophiles. Exactly. They've got the key. They've now got the key to groom your child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Totally agree, Philip.
And the child will think, they know what they're talking about. I mean, it's another way of opening that door.
Absolutely.
There's a grooming process. There's a discussion. There's play. There's tickle. There's all this stuff. Very often an abuser would tell a child that they can consent just because they can discuss their genitalia.
Yeah. It's frightening, Jack. Really,
it is not consent. It is not consent.
No, it's not.
But paedophiles take it as consent, or some of them do. 5 to 7-year-olds in Scotland are actually being taught how babies are made. At 5? They're actually teaching how people have sex. And it goes into detail about the penis going into the woman's vagina
Oh
and the
my
sperm
God.
coming out and meets the egg inside the woman's body.
Why? When they're not cognitively ready for that, and they would not be asking these questions. They'd just go, you know, that when they ask about pregnancy, you just say the dad plants the seed in the mommy's tummy. That's it. End of. You don't need any more.
That's all you need. Tell
Why
them
are
the
you,
truth. No
as
bollocks
Philip
about
said,
no bollocks about stalks. Tell them the truth.
no,
But only
exactly,
as much as they're ready for.
and as much as they're asking to know.
As much as they're asking for, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is, something else you haven't touched on yet, right? Each child, they say is age appropriate, but what you've got to realize, in a classroom, each child has got a different mentality at a different age. They could both be 7, but one 7 or well, we'll say 11-year-olds, but you might have people in that classroom who can't take that in. I mean, that's not age appropriate for them. You can't blanket this over a certain age group.
No, exactly.
It doesn't work.
It's individual specific.
Yeah, I mean the Scottish thing is crazy. They're talking about the genitals, the correct terminology, the penis, the scrotum, the vulva, and they're actually showing them pictures, actual photographs of naked adults. Now, I've got nothing against nudity. I think nudity is healthy, but you know, it's not, maybe not in a school setting, you know.
Exactly, and not for this age group.
No.
Yeah. Apparently there was a mum who actually downloaded some of this stuff off the Scottish Government website for herself and shared it on social media, and she got banned for posting nudity.
It's not appropriate.
Do you know that?
Not appropriate for an adult. It's sure as heck is not appropriate for kids then, is it?
No, it certainly isn't. Do you know about that case, Philip?
Well, I have heard something that she actually got banned off Facebook for showing images off the Scottish curriculum regarding that case. I did hear about it, and she did get banned off Facebook for a bit, I think. Yeah. Social media.
Yeah, if it can't be shown on Facebook to adults, it shouldn't be shown on in class to little kids.
Exactly, darling.
From age 9, they're being told how sex should feel nice, about pleasurable sex. And it says about orgasms. It talks about the penis going into the vagina. 9-year-olds are shown how to gently move the penis in and out.
Yeah, but what you've got to realise, what the Scottish curriculum are sneakily doing, they're not showing a live video or picture. What they're actually doing, it's a cartoon picture.
Even worse.
And they think that's acceptable.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Apparently there's a graphic that they show that makes this statement. Real sex is when a boy or man puts his penis into a girl or woman's vagina. Nothing else is real sex. And then there's a great big sticker across it which says false.
Really?
Yeah, false. Then they go on to talk about different types of sexual activity, such as oral.
For 9-year-olds,
anal,
are you?
And same sex, same sex.
What?
And this is taught to them on the same level as what you and I would call normal sex.
Yeah.
From age 9. It's
They
taught on a
just don't
par.
need this level of nonsense, basically. When they're asking, that's the time to tell them about this. I can't believe this. Well, I can believe it, actually. That's the worst of it. I can believe it.
In one of the videos, sorry, Philip.
Yeah, what they actually go on about as well is threesomes. They show a picture of a hot dog with 2 hot dogs in it, and they call that a threesome. They've also, there are other pictures and stuff like that which is on this curriculum, which are downright disgraceful, like to me.
Yeah, a picture of a pizza that's supposed to be about swallowing.
Yeah, that's it.
A banana, I think it is, going into a tub of Nigella.
Yeah, that's
which is
anal.
supposed to be about anal sex.
Oh my gosh.
They've got a video promoting anal sex as a way of avoiding pregnancy.
Yeah.
Oh
But
my God.
a lot of people don't understand, right, about anal sex, right? When you're teaching this, they forget to tell you about the cancer you can have, you can get from it, and later in life, it is not a very good idea to be doing something like this.
No.
They're not teaching them the side effects of the
No.
health by having anal. Yes, it will stop pregnancies, but they don't explain what could happen later in life.
Yeah. And that actually, it can be bad for the prostate gland, depending how much of it you're doing. You know, a tiny bit is fine, but any more than that, it's actually doing damage to your prostate gland. And it's sometimes the reason that triggers prostate cancer.
I mean, whatever adults want to do, knowing the risks, good luck to them.
Exactly.
But don't promote it to school-age kids.
And to do it in this way is just ridiculous.
They speak about how 44% of females apparently like anal sex. I don't know whether that's true or not, but that's what they're teaching them.
Yeah, and it goes on.
So it makes it normal that girls like anal sex when I'm talking personally and professionally now as a sex therapist, most women don't enjoy it because that isn't where our G-spot is.
No, no.
And, you know, we are tiny there for a reason. We're tiny. We're not meant to be stretched in that way.
No.
They do go on about BDSM as well within that curriculum.
They do, yeah, yeah. I mean, kids, like primary school kids shouldn't know anything about BDSM.
Exactly, exactly.
They're only going to go away and experiment,
so many levels. Sorry,
they're
Jack.
only going to go home and experiment with their friends. That's what kids do.
Yeah.
Apparently, these pictures that Philip was talking about, there's one about a trussed up chicken that's supposed to be talking about bondage.
Well, that's BDSM.
That's BDSM. The B is the bondage is the B in BDSM. It talks about how to have more pleasurable feelings when having anal sex.
What?
Yeah.
Well, of course, it would mean that there would be no babies from that, would there? Let's be honest, and that's what they want, isn't it? This is all a depopulation experiment. Well,
yeah, that's what they
want,
want.
whatever you want to call it.
But this stuff is not age appropriate, is it?
No, not even remotely.
Now you can understand why the girls, the PCPW girls, are fighting this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not actually the people who got them are in court, who've taken it to court, are the 5 claimants. I mean, it's the claimants which are taken to court, not PCP Wales.
Okay.
But now you can understand why we're in uproar in our country.
Yeah. Oh, and rightly so. Rightly so.
Yeah, absolutely. I got it wrong before. It wasn't a pizza, it was a pancake that they used to talk about swallowing.
That's right.
Statements from the Welsh government, and this is what you're particularly interested in, Philip, isn't it? What's going on in Wales. Talking about the RSE is endorsed by the NSPCC.
Which are also satanic paedophiles. I'm sorry, but I need to say it.
I agree
and Save the Children and Save the Children charity is just all about child sex trafficking, and the Red Cross. And as much as I don't want to believe it, I've been doing this research since 9/11, Jack, and it's irrefutable.
Well, there was a big hoo-ha a few years ago, wasn't it? I can't remember how many years ago, probably the 90s, about the NSPCC and abusing child abuse and all that.
Yeah.
Apparently, the Scottish videos were commissioned jointly by the SNP, the Scottish National Party, and the NSPCC.
Oh, well, that makes perfect sense.
Does rather.
Doesn't it?
And we're supposed to think these are good people.
Anything but.
You know, I mean, do you, anybody out there listening or watching the replay later, do you still trust the NSPCC after having learnt that? Because I certainly don't.
No.
Not that I did before.
It saved the children when I saw some of the videos. I think it was called Cry for Freedom. And there was another one, I can't remember what that one was called, Out of the Darkness or something like that. But it went into a lot of detail about the fact that these big organisations that are allegedly helping children, they're not, it's child sex trafficking. And it's beyond, you know, the magnitude of it is extraordinary, it really is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then they're protected by our governments.
There's a toolkit called 13 Plus that's been put out by the Proud Trust, home of LGBT and youth. They've received over £100,000 from the government, and they've received it from what's called the Tampax Fund, which apparently is meant to safeguard women and girls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
With all the glycophosphates that are in tampons, yeah, I'm sure they only have our female health in mind. No,
but they've used that 100 grand that was supposed to be to help women and girls.
Yeah.
Put together this toolkit.
Yep. Yep.
And they also get funded by the EU Social Fund.
Another corrupt organisation.
Yep. There are 4 sections in the toolkit. Number 1 talks about female genital mutilation and presents it as normal.
No, it's not.
FGM is actually illegal in this country.
It's not illegal. This is still happening in this country. Just remember that it's still happening in this country.
It's still happening. It's illegal, but it's never enforced. And
it's not enforced. It's not enforced in the hospital.
It's not enforced at all. And these, I think there's been what, 2 arrests, I think, since the law came out about 20 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's been prosecuted, have they?
No.
But these sickos are actually teaching kids that it's normal.
There's nothing normal about this. This is just awful.
And that's money they've taken from a fund which was put up to protect women and girls.
Yeah.
This is doing the exact opposite from protecting women and girls, isn't it?
Oh, without doubt, darling.
And they go on about transgender things and teaching kids that that's normal. Okay, you want to do it, you're an adult, you've researched it, go ahead. You know, your body, your choice. But don't indoctrinate kids with it.
And also, I heard something the other day, I think this was on Telegram as well, and it was saying that this man had I don't know, an argument with his daughter, who was saying it's normal to be gay. And he said, no, actually, the definition of normal is that 98% of the population is doing this thing, whether it's drinking water or whatever it is. So the fact that you're saying this is normal, 98% of the population are actually heterosexual, and only 2% are gay or lesbian or whatever. So actually, under that criteria, it is not normal.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care what adults do. I really don't care what adults do. I have equal respect for gay people as I do for straight people.
Me
Not
too.
a problem.
And I've actually helped 2 people to go through the whole transgendering process from males to females, probably 10 years ago. So I do know what I'm talking about. But what I'm saying is we shouldn't be told that this is normal, because it's not.
No.
There's another point there with transsexual. You saying you help people through it. It's reversible. You realise that, don't you?
Yeah.
You know
Well,
that.
the one man was 65, and if you don't know what gender you want to be by the time you're 65 and what skin you're comfortable in, it's a bit of a poor do. And his wife had died 5 years previous, and then he just came to me the one day and said, I don't know who to talk to about that. In the UK at the time, you had to, the first thing you had to do was go and see your GP, and they would do a hormone test. So in his, I won't disclose his name because it'd be too obvious, but in his case, instead of him having, you know, say 98% testosterone, 2% estrogen, it was the other way around. So they started, he had to live and work as a woman for 2 years before they'd even think about doing the operation, and rightly so.
Yeah.
Rightly so. This is a massive thing.
I mean, a friend of mine has got a child that's had the operation. Changed from a girl to a boy, although I think he, she, I don't know the correct terminology, no disrespect intended, is only about halfway through the process. But as an adult, not as a little kiddie.
Exactly, exactly. And I remember that this man, when he started the transgendering process, he had to have counselling every 2 weeks, and also he was having female hormones, and it was the worst cases of PMT I've ever heard of in my life. He was going around slamming doors and shouting and bawling because his poor body was being overwhelmed by female hormones.
Well, there's lots of cases coming to the light now of transgender regret, isn't there?
Yeah. A child in America was, I don't know, 16. And then 5 years down the line, she said she's never been so suicidal, and she's having it reversed because she went from being a girl to a boy.
Now, the third lesson in this thing, it talks about receiving money for sex, anal sex, and watching pornography at age 13. At age 13.
No.
And the fourth lesson is about the dice game. Have you heard of the dice game, Annie? I'm sure Philip has.
No, tell me about the dice game.
Well, apparently they have these dice, and one die has
A body part on.
One die has parts of the body on it,
and one has a sex act.
And the other one has sex acts on it.
No, I have seen it now, actually.
And they roll the dice.
Yeah.
And then the kids are supposed to talk about the, yes, well, that's it.
These are adult sex toys, Jack. They are not meant for children.
They're not.
At the end of the day, this is what these schools are doing, right? They're playing with the kids' minds and all that. But this is the type of stuff that you can buy in Ann Summer's shop, but it hasn't got the
I was going to say the same.
It hasn't got the government logo on it. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
The only difference.
And you know, that's fine for people who are 18 and over. That's fine. If that's what your cup of tea is, that's great. But it should not be given to our children. This is ridiculous and harmful beyond measure.
Now, part 5 of this 13 plus thing talks about softcore porn, hardcore porn, lesbian, interracial and cultural and alternative sex, BDSM, and amateur and mature sex, whatever all that's about. Well, I'm too innocent to do this show.
well, this is what Kim has sent out a letter to NSPCC. What is the difference between amateur and mature sex? they won't reply to her because they don't even know themselves. They're making it up as they go along. Because they've got a guy in a pushing a, I think on the logo it's pushing a Zimmer frame or something, but they can't explain it. NSPC can't explain it. NSPC.
Well, I think it's important to tell people, I don't know about kiddies, that it's normal for my age group to have sex.
Yeah.
That it's not weird if they see or they hear of, not see hopefully, if they hear of older people.
I never had you down for a porn star, Jack.
If they hear of elderly people having sex, it's not weird, it's normal.
Yeah.
I think it's probably right to teach them that, because I mean kids can be very judgmental, can't they, about even about their own parents.
Lots of us will have seen elderly couples holding hands, kissing, and nobody would object to that. Nobody would object to that. But also things like, handicapped people still have sex. All sorts of people that you might not imagine find a way to have joyful sex in a loving relationship.
Absolutely.
Not a bloody 9. Come on.
Well, there's 9 they don't need to know, do they?
No.
Right. Now, apparently there are lots of LGBTQ books. It says here actually LGBTQ plus, whatever the plus stands for. Maybe that's where the P comes in. Books are being distributed to schools.
No.
Throughout the whole of the UK, there's been over 800 primary schools that have received these books. These are pornography books.
Yeah, they are.
Well, they're actually promoting the LGBTQ ideology, basically, aren't they?
Yeah, massively.
A lot of the drag queens are starting to write this sort of stuff and then trying to promote it within schools now.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, yeah.
Crazy.
It's supposed to, the books are supposed to promote the movement, let's just call it that for the time being, in a good light.
Yeah.
And they have pictures in them where people who oppose them are shown in grey and made out to be nasty people, and people that support them get all the rainbows and the unicorns, I suppose.
It's called discernment, I believe.
Is that what they call it?
No, it's what I'm calling it, discernment about whether you engage with this stuff or not. Whereas when it's going into schools, our children don't have the cognitive development to practice discernment. No.
There's one about this person called Jamie, who's supposed to be some kind of transgender Cinderella. Another book is called What Does LGBTQ Mean? And they talk about not necessarily being the gender assigned to you at birth, and how it's a sliding scale. It says things like the doctor only guessed your gender at birth.
What?
And in some cases they got it
wrong. How about you have a good look at the genitalia for a start?
Yeah, absolutely. It's not difficult. It's not difficult, is it?
If you've got a willy, you're a boy. If you haven't got a willy, you're a girl. That's it.
Sure, you can get arrested for saying that these days.
Oh, I don't care. I've been arrested for far stupider things than that.
Oh, tell us about that on another show. We'll do another show about that.
No, I meant to the rallies and things, Jack. I didn't mean anything else.
We'll believe you, Annie. We'll believe you. Yeah. Well, that's about the end of my notes. I don't want to go into the dark stuff because I don't want to do that on the show.
And to be honest, all my notes are duplicated by yours, darling.
I just want to point out what I've said tonight. if I've got anything wrong, I'm sorry to PCP Wales. Obviously I've listened to all their presentations because I film it and I do their protests and film their protest. But if my memory isn't as good as it is, as it was, I'm very sorry. But I think I've got most things. What I've said is
no, thank you, honestly, thank you. It's been
I'm
invaluable, your input. Really
very,
has
very
been.
honoured that you've come on, Philip.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to me. But could you send me a copy of this?
I will do, yeah.
Yes, send you the link, definitely.
Yeah, please.
Andrew, you haven't spoken all evening, which is unlike you.
It's one of probably the most informative of the many informative Monday evenings. And
but it's usually a lot more joyful and fun than this.
Well, yes, but regardless,
Jack very bravely suggested that we talk about this tonight, and I'm really glad he did.
We have to do the difficult subjects occasionally.
No, by all means. I just think that it's important that we do have this show, and that it informs people if they're interested, and I'm fascinated by everybody, everything. That there is a place where you can come on a Monday night, or you can watch it on the replay on the YouTube channel, and it'll describe all kinds of, in detail, in depth, well researched, well thought out, well presented, usually with a lot more joy, as you say.
And laughter.
But regardless of that, tonight's no different. It's giving information that is probably not talked about. I'm thinking about my own way of looking at what's being said here. And there's part of me that says that I regret not having had sex education in school, because I think I left, well, I don't think I know. I left school in 74, and I think Jack left a little bit before me. And so did Annie.
Just a little bit, Andrew.
Not much. So we never had any sex education at all, but all my 4 children did. And I haven't got a clue what was going on. And all I thought, because I'm a trusting soul, that the education system would be wise in the way that they disseminated information to my children. However, what I've heard tonight, it's not, maybe it was when my children were growing up, but it's certainly not the case now. And the question that I've been asking in my mind all the way through this is, how do those who think this is a good idea, because obviously there are people who think this is a good idea, how do they think that they are going to convince the majority of people who either don't want to talk about it, or if they do want to talk about it, they want to be on the opposite side? How do they think that they're going to convince the majority that this is the kind of subject matter that we should be, at the ages that Jack has been going through in detail, that this is a good idea? I think that it is a good idea to talk about sex in school. And I think that it probably is okay to do it even with younger than 11, depending on the content. Certainly not the content that Jack's been telling us about, but I think it probably is appropriate that there isn't, I think we should be talking about death as well. I think children need to hear that there shouldn't be taboos, but it should be appropriate. And this is the problem, isn't it? That the children, some are, I remember being asked by, I think they were taunting us, these girls. We were asked, me and my friend, to go and meet them one evening after tea. And I think we were about 12 or 13, and they were just laughing at us because they knew we had no clue, and they were probably menstruating, and they'd got some kind of an idea of what's going on here. And they were just toying with us. And I wish I'd been a little bit more aware before entering into that conversation about girls and boys, because I have a brother. I don't have any sisters. My parents didn't talk about this. I think the only thing I got was at the age of about 15, my dad gave me an STD leaflet.
Okay,
That's
good.
all I got.
Good.
I had a girl, a girlfriend, who was she asked me to, we were going out for the evening. I got a car, so I was being 17 or 18. She asked me to iron her dress and bring it to me. She was going for a bath, and then she wanted to put the dress on, iron the dress and bring it to me. Well, I didn't know, she was laid naked in my parents' bed waiting for me. And we didn't have a conversation. We went out to, it was a Radio 1 roadshow, and we didn't talk all the way there. And I had to take her back to the railway station afterwards. And she never spoke to me in the car on the way there, on the way back, or ever again.
Oh my God, Andrew.
And I had no clue until her friend told me. I said, do you, girls talk, don't they? What happened? Can you tell me? And she told me. She said she was waiting for you, and she was so disgusted that, you know, she was making herself vulnerable for you, and you just. But I hadn't got a clue. I didn't know.
I wouldn't have known. But that was an innuendo for sex, a dress and an iron.
Yeah. It's just if the girlfriend needs a dress iron, then I've never ironed a dress before, but go on then and I'll have a go, you know, I'm a have a go sort, you know. But really, I do believe that it is appropriate to teach children about sex in school. However, not the subject matters and the age that we've been hearing about tonight. And I as I said, the one thought in my mind all the way through this is, how do those who know that the majority aren't going to find this completely wholesome, that they're going to accept this from us, from them rather, that this is going to be part of the national curriculum, that it is going to be part of the education system, that this is the way that we do things. I don't get the logic of how they think it's, I mean, it's happened. I've been totally unaware of, I think,
well, they
probably
basically sneaked it in, haven't they, Andrew?
So
they've sneaked it in because they know there would have been a big uproar if they'd have gone, this is the new curriculum for sex education in schools. We would have gone ballistic. So they haven't. Well, we've had all this COVID.
Why, even more than that, why would they want it? And I don't know whether you're telling me your opinion or whether you've got documentation to back up what you're saying, that it's deliberately to make paedophilia.
All the documentation you can download it
on the video.
PCPW website.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay,
it's all there.
It's all the research. The research has been done by PCP Wales, and they got the links and they can back it all up. At the end of the day, the research has come from paedophilia, so that speaks volumes for itself, like, to me. But I still, talking about sex in school and sex education, but not, it has to be age appropriate. And why didn't they start with a 14, 15 and 16?
Exactly.
Why attack 3-year-olds?
Why 3 to 6-year-olds?
Right.
I don't understand the logic. I might, even if you explain the logic to me, I'd probably disagree with it. No, but I can't see how you can make a logical case for what you're doing. I really don't. It doesn't compute. And this is like with back in the 1980s, they said, what do you do for a job, Andrew? I said, I'm paying the price for a leaner, keener, tougher Britain. And they looked at me odd. What did you say? I said, I'm paying the price for a leaner, keener, tougher Britain. Said, "You're unemployed, aren't you?" I said, "Yes." Mrs. Thatcher had said that some people would have to pay the price for a leaner, keener, tougher Britain. So I wanted to sit down with her, and I knew it was never going to happen, for her to explain to me. I understood the political desire to crush the miners and the unions. I got that, but it doesn't make economic sense that you've got all this revenue from the oil rigs in the North Sea, and it's being wasted at keeping people at home doing nothing. How do you build an economy when you've got people sat at home doing nothing? So it just didn't make any sense to me, and I would have loved for her to explain to me, if she could, what the economic reason was, not the political reason. I got that. I understood fully that. And again, I'm kind of dumbstruck tonight as to what is the reasoning behind this, other than what you've already said. And they would never admit to that.
There's got to be
They would never admit that that was the reason for it. They'd have to give some other reason, and I'm interested what that other reason might be.
Well,
they think it's age appropriate, but we only have to look at what politicians are like. How many committed sexual offences, including 2 by-elections last year. You've had that Speaker of the House of Commons. Years ago, she was trying to promote PI, lower the age of consent. I think this is a way that they're starting to push it. That's my opinion. I think that's where it's leading.
Yeah.
And they want it to be acceptable in schools and with the kids that it is it's age appropriate when it really isn't. By bringing down the age of consent, this is a slippery slide, very slippery slide, this legislation.
And it will never be shown on BBC because they back up paedophilia, as we know.
Yeah, well,
we've known for years that.
How's about that then?
Well, how long did it take them? How many people reported Jimmy Savile? Well, how many police forces sat on that case? The assassination of Jill Dando. I don't probably need to say any more about it.
Well, we can go on and on about the BBC hiding.
Breaking up.
Three decades of Jimmy Savile
breaking
hiding.
Up, Annie.
Then you've got Rolf Harris. You've got Gary Glitter. And the list is kind of endless. Yeah. These are the people they protected. And they do deliberately. Well, look at the BBC, the main building in London. They've got a statue of Eric Gill right in the front of it, and they've got a statue inside as well. Now, Eric Gill was he child molested his 2 daughters. He sexually abused his dog. We could go on and on what the BBC do, and they're still doing it because they're not reporting fairly on cases like this one, which is the most important court case in history of Wales and probably the world, because the rest of the world are watching what's happening in Wales.
Yeah, absolutely, sweetheart. Absolutely.
They won't report on it.
No.
So, Philip, how can people support the PCPW campaign?
Well, if they go to their webpage, if you can supply the webpage after.
I'll put below in the description.
Yeah, if you can put it there, and just support them. And we're gonna. It doesn't matter what the result is in the High Court. Each party is going to appeal. That's what you realise. If if the claimants win, the government will. They'll use our own money against us to make an appeal. Yeah, and that's the way it's going to work. Either way, whichever way it goes, the government is going to appeal, or the claimants are going to appeal, and it's going to go for an appeal. And then we have to think of what's going to happen after that. They don't just stop at the High Court.
Philip, can you tell us a little bit about Real News?
Real News and Live News, I set it up as a group to do for me to do a live on a Wednesday and to promote all the demos. I go to different subject matters I cover. And by the way, I got Kim on there tomorrow night as well.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant.
Yeah, I just cover loads of different things, and I will cover the news, what's in the local in the news on the day, well, for the last week or something. So it is quite informative. I am a survivor of cancer. I was terminally ill. I had 6 months to live, and that was 4 years ago. And so I do some sort of cancer shows as well for information for people who've got the terminal cancer, and they think it's the end. There isn't the end. There are ways out of it. If you
yeah, natural medicine's the way forward. Cancer can't survive in an alkaline system.
Well, Anna's the expert on complementary therapies, aren't you? You run a clinic, and he runs a clinic with oh, I don't know, dozens and dozens of different methods.
Thank you, Jack.
I can't keep up with it all. And he's very talented.
Thank you, darling. Thank you.
Right. Philip, if you send me a link to Real News, then I'll put that in the description down below as well.
Okay, yeah. I mainly do it off Facebook, but I do have it does go to a YouTube channel as well. My main YouTube channel was taken down during COVID, obviously for reasons I'm not going to say. I don't want your channel taken down. Yeah, I tend to use Facebook a lot more than anything else. So yeah, I'll send you the link.
Thank you.
I was lucky. I only got 2 strikes doing all of that on YouTube.
Oh no, I've spent more time in Facebook jail over the first
Facebook,
6
yeah,
months.
Facebook
jail for daring to suggest that natural remedies might be the way forward. Oh my goodness, can't be saying that.
Can't say that. But yeah. I got my first strike on YouTube for quoting government figures off the government website.
Yeah.
Right.
That one.
I also had, I think I had 2 or 3 strikes for interviewing Piers Corbyn with his court cases and stuff like that. And at demonstrations, filming him doing his speeches. That was the reason.
And if what we were talking about, if we really were batshit crazy conspiracy theories, why don't you let people just listen to it and they can make their own minds up? Why
Absolutely.
do you need to take us down?
I can tell you a story, right? I used to be part of a hunting group. I used to do stings and speak. I only did 2, to be honest with you. And when COVID came along and they had the lockdown, the first lockdown, I did a live off there, right? Me and my mate, we did a live. It had 30,000 views within an hour, right? And then Facebook took it down automatically.
Oh, yes, we can't have the truth coming out. Ooh.
Because everything I've said during this pandemic has come true.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fucking unbelievable.
So one of my sons said to me, do you know the difference between a conspiracy theory and conspiracy fact? He said, my mum said it 6 months prior to it.
Well, the word conspiracy was invented by the CIA.
To shut everybody up that was saying that JFK was assassinated, and he was.
Yeah. He was. Well, he was assassinated, but who did it? That's the question.
Oh, his own government. Can't have the truth coming out.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure anytime, like you mean.
Philip,
but if I have got anything wrong, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Philip. It's been great having you on.
You can only do your best, can't you?
And we do these shows every Monday.
All right. Thanks for having me on. I've got to say goodbye. Thanks to the listeners.
Thank you very much, Philip.
All right. Ta-ra all.
And thank you to Andrew, and thank you as always to the lovely Jack Cox. I have already said this to Jack, so it's not the first time he's heard it, but I'm really grateful to him for choosing this subject matter, because it takes bravery and courage to speak our truth about things that we don't really want to talk about, but are important for the wider audience, because we can't do anything about it if it's hidden. Once it's brought up to the surface and the light can shine on it, then it can start to be healed, can't it? So I'm very grateful, Jack.
Yep. Thank you. Well, thank you, Annie, for doing it with me, and thank you, Andrew. If you're watching the YouTube version of this, please do like and share, because it enables us to get out to more people. And we're here every Monday, so do come along in the future.
Jack, you know what we've missed?
Hmm?
All you need is love.
Oh,
Da,
love is
da,
all
da, da,
you
da. All you need is love. Da,
need.
da, 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 da. All you need is love, love. Love is all you need. It wouldn't be our
It
show,
wouldn't be our show, would it, if we hadn't sang that?
Managed to get it in on Friday night as well.
I know.
Yes,
Well
you
done,
did, yeah.
mate.
No, I did an excellent interview. Those who haven't seen it, I did an excellent show on last Friday with Andrew,
Oh, it was brilliant.
where he shared his wisdom and his poetry with us.
Oh, it was lovely.
So anyone who hasn't seen that, it's on this channel, so please do look it up.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Namaste. Bye. Leave.